Morning everyone, I'm just out on the morning dog walk with Aurora. She's around sniffing everything. Welcome to day 13 of our 21 days of prayer and fasting. Well done if you've made it this far, keep going. Your prayers are making a difference. God hears every single one and He answers them all. In just over a week we're going to finish our 21 days and we're going to have a Easter Sunday celebration on Zoom at 10 o'clock. We've sent out a link for you to be able to join that meeting in the weekly email, and we've posted that link in the City Life members and the Shine Facebook groups. We haven't publicised widely because I know there are some security fears about Zoom, but do share that link with family and friends and neighbours and invite them to join us to celebrate all that Jesus has done. As we are 2 weeks or so into social isolation and into this lockdown, I've been reflecting on how people are coping and the things we may be feeling. And for some it may be an anxiety around the virus and a fear that we might get ill. For some it may be that we're not worried for ourselves, but we are for those that we know and love who may be more vulnerable than we are. For some it may be that we're loving this time because we're getting to spend a less pressured time where there's little work to be done at home with family and we're enjoying it. Maybe connecting more with family and friends digitally around the world. For others, we might be struggling with social isolation. We might be feeling lonely and separate, not able to connect in the way that we once did, not able to meet with people in person. For people on the front lines, it may be that we are resentful of those that are able to spend more time with family when we can't, and our kids are having to go to school and we're not able to connect in the same way and we're spending more time working than we were before. Whatever it is we're facing today, whatever enemies are before us, I want to encourage us, as David does in Psalm 23, that actually it's in the face of our enemies that God lays out a feast for us. There is an opportunity for us to draw aside and to feast on Him, to not just snack but to feast. So whenever those enemies rear their heads today, be aware that that is an actual invitation for us to encounter God, to feast with Him. For those on social media, you may have seen the meme that has been attributed to C.S. Lewis, a conversation between Satan and Jesus. It wasn't written by C.S. Lewis, but it doesn't really matter. The conversation goes like this. Satan says, I'm going to bring separation and despair. I'm going to cause people to be in fear and anxiety. I'm going to cause schools and businesses to be shut down and economic turmoil to be the case. And Jesus' response is, well, you may mean it for those kind of things, but actually what I'm going to do is bring families back together around the dining room table. I'm going to restore community. I'm going to help people to slow down and recognize what is truly important in life. I'm going to help people realize that maybe their money and their resources aren't the things to rely on, but instead maybe they should return to me. What the enemy seeks for destruction and for death, Jesus says he can turn for good. And Paul tells us this in Romans 8:28, doesn't he? When he says God will turn all things for good. A more modern translation of that verse, which I love, says that, and we know that in all things God works together with those who love Him and who are called according to His purpose to turn all things for good. This isn't just a promise for those of us who know God, it's a promise that all things can be turned for good for all people. But the promise is that we get to be part of that. So today, may you know what Jesus did on the cross and at His resurrection for you. May you know the victory that is in your life, the hope, the joy, the peace that we can carry in Him. And may you impart that to those that we see today who are struggling in this time. Let's be part of God's great purpose in this time to turn all things for good, to take the works of the enemy and undo them and instead release the kingdom to be at work. So be blessed today. Have a great day. Share your stories of how you're able to bring light and life and joy to people. Encourage one another, and much love to you all. God bless.